So I was just notified the bank is going to seize my property, and they explained why they're seizing it. So as you know, we live off grid, and you would think that that would be pretty satisfactory to the folks that are worried about climate. You would think that having solar panels and only using 1,000 watts a day of electricity, and it's all off the sun or a little bit off the generator in the wintertime, you would think that would satisfy people, but it doesn't. I've made video after video where I talked about the EPA is doing everything they can to basically outlaw burning firewood. Back in 2014, they started putting restrictions on wood stoves, making it where they had to be EPA compliant. They got these reburners and they have to burn the smoke, and you can only put so much particulate out into the atmosphere, and otherwise it's going to hurt people's asthma, and every year it gets tighter and tighter and tighter. And then, according to a lot of people in my comment section, the Supreme Court ruled the EPA can't do that anymore. Yet they're still doing it. So how does that make sense? If there's nobody to enforce the rulings of the judges, then why should they stop doing it? I mean, think about it. You convict me of a crime. Let's say you convict me of a crime. I've committed a crime. I go to court. I'm found guilty. But there's no police officers to put me in jail. What difference does it make what they say? Well, that's exactly how the government works. Supreme Court says something. Well, they're not going to kick me out of office. They're not going to impeach me. So I'm just going to continue to do what I'm going to do. It was like during the lockdowns. They said that the landlords couldn't kick people out of their homes, out of their rented homes, if they couldn't afford to pay the rent. Well, the Supreme Court said, no, that's unconstitutional. Landlords can kick people out of their homes. But the White House continued to enforce what they originally said. They just ignored the Supreme Court. So I hear this in the comment section. Oh, you can do this or you can do that. And it just goes on and on and on about all the things I can do that the government can't stop me from doing, yet the government is always stopping you from doing it. And you have these brave keyboard warriors typing on there, you're a sovereign citizen, don't pay taxes. Well, I'm going to pay taxes because, going to jail is not one of my highlights in life. I'm really happy living off grid. So as you know, I guess I should back up a little bit. So we burn firewood. We burn about 1 cord of firewood per year. That's about 3 truckloads. Then I have solar panels that runs our refrigerator, 2 phones, a tablet so I can do YouTube videos, and it charges the batteries on my camera. I run a fan. Right now I have a HEPA filter that I've been running because the firewood kind of makes a lot of dust in there. So not a lot. It's not like I got air conditioning. I don't even run air conditioning. So in the summertime, my solar panels provide me all the energy I need. Now people will tell me to get lithium batteries over lead acid batteries. Well, lithium batteries, I mean, they're not very environmentally friendly if you really look at all it takes to mine that lithium. I guess lead acid batteries isn't much better, but the nice thing about lead acid batteries, you can recycle the lead. I try to be environmentally friendly. Now, when we talk about generator, I run about a gallon of gas every 11 hours. Well, 11 hours on a generator could take me 3 weeks to run. So a gallon of gas every 3 weeks. Now, to go get all this firewood, I have a 4-cylinder pickup truck. Of course, that's not good enough. I got to have an electrical vehicle, they tell me. Now, today's 4-cylinders are like 6-cylinders back in the 90s. It's a really nice truck. I really enjoy it, but it hauled all this firewood. It's not like I got a big monster truck that's just throwing out diesel fumes or anything. And I'm not criticizing anybody. If you have a diesel, that's fine. But whatever. Not that I'm a big environmentalist. It just seems to me that my minimalistic lifestyle kind of fits in with what the environmentalists are asking for. But it's not. Have you ever noticed how California works, New York City, and all these big cities? Think about this. You have only 2 classes of citizens in California. You have the uber rich and the uber poor. You either live in Hollywood mansions or you live on the sidewalks. Why is that? I mean, California is the, 3rd largest economy in the world? And they have all those homeless people. Well, is that by design? Back in the 20s, I think it was back in the 20s, something, Bernard Shaw, he's an author, I forget his name, and I should have Googled it before I came out here. Wouldn't have mattered. I'm getting to the age I could have Googled and still not remember his name. But he said back in the 20s, everybody has to be able to produce. And if you don't produce, then you'll be eliminated. And what they were trying to do, I got to be careful in what I say here, but what they were trying to do, remember what Russia was doing back in those early days? Think about that word, whatever that word is. And so what they're trying to do is have two classes of people, the people who produce and the people who don't. And the people who don't get anything out of society. They're eliminated. Again, I got to be careful what I'm saying here. Well, same thing's going on in California. You either produce in California to the levels and the standards they want, or you live on the streets and you're eliminated. Why are they allowing all the illegal substances to pollute all these people? So if you really think about what's going on, that's what they want. So I've talked about the elitists. I can't use their name, but there are a group of elitists who meet all the time and they talk about the economy. They tell us that we won't be able to own anything and that we're going to be extremely happy about it. So again, I got to watch what I say. The algorithm will pick up on most of this conversation if I'm not careful. How are they going to take my property from me? I don't understand. I don't owe on it. All it's got to do is pay my $43 in taxes. I get in the comment section a lot, especially when I talk about firewood. What are you going to do if you're freezing to death? What do they want you to do? They want you to freeze to death? You know, something along those lines. Well, yeah, that's exactly what they want you to do. They don't want a lot of people on the planet. They say they want, 500 million people on the planet. And there's going to be two classes of people. There are going to be the uber rich, who make all the rules, and then there's going to be the producers. And that's it. That's all there's going to be. Anybody in between is going to be eliminated. So how are they going to get me off my property? How are they going to say, you can't be part of the 500 million to me? Well, that's simple. They're going to say that I have to be net zero. And if you're not net zero, then they're going to fine you, let's say $1,000 a day until you get net zero. Well, of course, you can't afford $1,000 a day. So they come and take your property. So here I am, I'm net zero. I can clearly articulate that I'm net zero. But what they're going to say is the firewood. Now, a lot of people are going to say firewood is net zero because all the carbon that the tree took in while it was growing is now being released when I burn it. But then another tree grows in its place and takes up that carbon again. So it's just a recycling of the carbon. But they're not going to see it that way. They're just going to see that this is a pollutant, just like they do now. They want to eliminate firewood. They want to eliminate wood stoves. And then they write all these fictitious stories about firewood, that it's harmful and it causes asthma and on and on and on, to convince people who don't know anything about firewood, oh yeah, we got to get rid of firewood. So what do? Municipalities ban firewood all the time, wood stoves. So if you live in a city, now I know some people are going to say, I can burn firewood, I live in a city. Most cities won't let you. Most municipalities won't let you burn firewood. If you have a neighbor 500 feet away from you, you got a postage stamps for a piece of property, and all your smoke from your wood stoves going into their house when they open the door, they're going to complain. They're going to say, hey, Bob's burning a wood stove, to the city council. City council, next time they get together, going to take a vote. Yep, let's get rid of wood stoves. No more wood stoves. So next time you light up your wood stove, you have this big plume of smoke coming out of your chimney, and they're going to come over and give you a big fine. Net zero. So that's how they're going to get me off my property. I'm going to own nothing, and eventually I'm going to be a bit happy about it. Now, when we take this to the next step, who is doing this? Well, there are organizations, again, can't mention their names, unfortunately, but there are organizations who are buying up property right now in the United States. There are very rich people buying up all the farmland in the United States. Why are they buying up farmland? Because they don't want you eating meat. They don't even want you eating vegetables anymore because they say the nitrogen, the nitrates or something in the fertilizers is a pollutant. So they don't even want you eating vegetables. That was the big thing. Let's go to vegetables. Get off meat, eat vegetables. They don't even want that now. So in Israel, there are startup companies producing lab-grown meat. They are literally taking cells from a cow, putting it in a petri dish, and growing a steak. And you're going to be happy about it, that you can't eat cows anymore. Now, think about it. Do you really think that the uber rich are going to give up their steaks? No. So while you're living on the sidewalks in California, they throw you a lab-grown meat, and you're getting the scraps off the king's table, they're eating the steaks. Right? In one of the Mideastern countries, they are currently building a huge structure. I think it's 30 miles wide and 100 miles long. Don't quote me on the distances. And what they're going to do is they're going to move the entire population into that building. Everything you do is going to be in that building. They'll have trains running back and forth, and you can go shopping in the malls. And so everybody's going to be packed into this huge structure. You'll work, you'll eat, and they'll just stack you up into little cabins. I saw a picture of a Chinese manufacturer, and what they do is they just have these racks just stacked up, bed racks, and everybody just lays on the bed racks, kind of like in the submarine. We had racks in the submarine, just little coffins basically, and they were stacked 3 high. And that's exactly what I saw in this picture from China. In the UK, they're talking about sectioning off circles, basically, in the UK, 3 miles in diameter. And you're not gonna be able to drive cars in that circle, only bicycles. So everything you need is gonna be inside that 3 mile circle, your groceries, your Walmarts, your whatever, your house, and your job. You'll go there with your bicycle, you'll come back. Now, they'll give you an allowance, say 50 times you can drive your car out of the circle. After that, I guess they fine you. Now, what's interesting is Portland, Oregon is considering doing the same thing. So it's actually starting to roll over here in the United States, these ideas of let's get rid of cars. We already heard that California is going to ban gasoline-driven cars. You won't be able to buy a gasoline-driven car, I think 2030. The problem is they don't even have the infrastructure to charge the cars in California. This last summer, they told people, don't plug your cars in. Well, they're not upgrading the infrastructure. They're just telling you you're going to have to buy electric vehicles. Well, let's think about this. California, 2 classes of citizens. The uber rich that can afford the electric cars, and the uber poor that have to live on the streets. They're not even going to buy cars. They don't buy cars now. They're not going to buy cars later. So they'll have enough infrastructure for the uber rich. Everybody else will suffer. So as I said earlier, everybody is curious how they're going to make people move off their property and be happy about it. You won't have to leave your property. They'll just take it from you, and then you'll have to rent it from them. Or they'll make you move into these buildings, and you at least appear happy because they'll tell you to be happy. So if you click this up next box, it'll take you to a video that I made just recently. So I hope I can inspire you to get away from it as much as you can, so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.